evening, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Night Warfare. We have a special 2 for Tuesday Night Warfare lined up for you tonight. As our first match, we'll see two men who battled for the role of Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. Kerry Von Erich will take on the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff. And in our second match, the 2 for Tuesday Night Warfare, stunning Steve Austin will take on Tully Blanchard. So 2 matches for you set up here. We've been neglecting the Tuesday Night Warfare in recent weeks, but we are getting things right back on track. Of course, we have a great event lined up for you on May 15th, when Zach Deli316 and I will be calling Slamboree. And then coming your way in June, the return of Bilski, as he and I will broadcast Saturday night's main event, still contemplating whether that will be on a Saturday or the typical Monday pay-per-view time frame. We'll be sure to keep you posted as Nikita Koloff makes his way to the ring. And again, both of these men tried for the role of Ivan Drago in Rocky IV back in, I believe it was 1984 or 85. Clearly neither man got it, but could you imagine, I mean, fantasy warfare and all, if Nikita Koloff wins that role? We all know what Thunderlips did for Hulk Hogan in Rocky III. I would have to imagine that at some point, if Nikita Koloff won that role of Ivan Drago in Rocky IV, that Vince McMahon would have, by hook or crook, gotten his hands on Nikita Koloff for a match against Hulk Hogan. And who knows where professional wrestling could be after that war. Of course, if you're a fan of the channel, we saw that match at the Royal Rumble back in January, as Hulk Hogan that night proved to be too much for the Russian Nightmare. We are going all the way back to 2K18. Yes, I said all the way back. That game came out in 2017. We are now, of course, in 2021 with a new WWE 2K22 announcement just made in recent weeks. Some chain wrestling to begin the matchup as Kerry Von Erich has a headlock on the Russian Nightmare Nikita Koloff. Kerry Von Erich, of course, a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He defeated Ric Flair in May of 1984 and defended that title 12 times over a 14-day span. You did that back then when you were NWA World Champion, the traveling champion in professional wrestling. Defended that title all over the Southwest and Florida. Matches against superstar Billy Graham, to name a few, in Florida. Black Bart, I believe, he defended against. And of course, lost the title back to Ric Flair in Japan. And his father, Fritz Von Erich, the owner and booker of World Class Championship Wrestling, used that world title loss to Ric Flair to kind of springboard the separation from the NWA, which would happen about a year later in 1985, as World Class would remove themselves from the NWA and become their own company. And of course, Russian Nightmare Nikita Koloff. What could be said about this guy? One of my favorites of all time. Again, I'm from the Northeast. I always cheered the heels. But when Nikita made that dramatic save of Dusty Rhodes from the Horsemen and became the Superpowers with Dusty Rhodes, Nikita was always a face that I cheered for and liked. He would go on to become, of course, multiple-time U.S. Heavyweight Champion, multiple-time Tag Team Champion, and would always fall just short of winning the World Heavyweight title. And his career would have a second run in 1991 when he returned to feud against, well, at the time, Lex Luger, ended up being Sting. And then a year later at Super Brawl, saved Sting from an attack at the hands of the Dangerous Alliance. And Nikita Koloff had some classic matches with Ravishing Rick Rude over that U.S. Heavyweight title. The last match for Nikita Koloff took place in my hometown of Philadelphia at Halloween Havoc 92 when he lost to Big Van Vader, and in that match injured himself, a career season-ending injury as Nikita goes for the cover here on Kerry. 1, 2, and a kick out of 2 by the modern-day warrior, Kerry Von Erich. But a fantasy warfare matchup nonetheless between these two would-be Ivan Dragos and Nikita Koloff in control. Of course, one of the stories making the rounds was that Kerry Von Erich did not know his lines for the role of Ivan Drago, which, you know, take it from the source. Nikita did say it as he sets up Kerry. Could it be the Russian sickle? He runs, charges, and it does! Takes him down. Kerry Von Erich is not going to kick up from this. Nikita hooks the leg, referee in position 1, 2, and 3. And your winner here on Tuesday Night Warfare, the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff. Here are some highlights from earlier in the contest, a back and forth match, but the Russian sickle proved to be too much for Kerry Von Erich. And Nikita Koloff gets back on the winning track in fantasy warfare. Kerry Von Erich in a little bit of a losing streak here. But there it was, the Russian sickle, and Nikita Koloff with the victory over Kerry Von Erich. Fans, it's 2 for Tuesday Night Warfare, 2 for Tuesday. Don't go away, because coming up next, stunning Steve Austin of the Dangerous Alliance takes on Tully Blanchard of the Four Horsemen. We'll be right back after this quick promo for our next pay-per-view event, Slamboree. And welcome back to 2 for Tuesday Night Warfare. And this should be a very interesting match, as that man right there, Tully Blanchard, will take on stunning Steve Austin.
The following contest is scheduled for
we saw shades of this match back at our Clash of the Champions March pay-per-view when the Dangerous Alliance took on the Four Horsemen for control of the Enforcer Arn Anderson. This is the first one-on-one matchup, a fantasy warfare what-if between Tully Blanchard and stunning Steve Austin. We are currently using the 2K20 game. Earlier tonight, when Nikita Koloff defeated Kerry Von Erich, we went to 2K18. We spend most of our time in 2K19. There's just too many glitches in this game to really enjoy too much of it, but the stage logos that our man Zach Deli0316 made for us just look impeccable on the arenas in 2K20, so I try to use that platform any chance I get. And of course, here's a creation of my stunning Steve Austin from the Hollywood Blondes era of 1993. There are many hair options I had for Austin. I chose this one here, the earlier of the Hollywood Blondes hairstyle. Got to find out if there's a glitch for 2K20 that would allow me to have two hairstyles like 19 did, because that hair glitch has made a lot of my created wrestlers come to life. But here we go. One-on-one matchup here on WCW Saturday Night, and a running charge by Blanchard, and a forearm by Blanchard has the early advantage. Austin throws Blanchard up and over the top rope and taunts to the crowd here at center stage. I always ask what could have been if Jim Herd had brought in Tully Blanchard in 1990 to be with Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, and Ole Anderson, the Four Horsemen. Would Tully Blanchard, if he had stayed, if Herd had let Blanchard come in after failing that drug test, would Tully Blanchard have stayed in the NWA when they became World Championship Wrestling? Would Tully have been part of the Dangerous Alliance, let's say? I mean, who knows? Would Flair have left? Maybe he would have been happy with Tully. Maybe the booking of the promotion could have centered around the Horsemen again. We will never know. But Stunning Steve, I keep wanting to say Stone Cold. Stunning Steve Austin, of course, worked his way up the rankings. He did everything you were supposed to do. He won his first title a month into the company, defeating Beautiful Bobby for the World TV title back in, I think it was June of '91. And he was in the promotion for less than a month when he did that. Defended that TV title, and then worked his way up the rankings the entire year of '92. He was a member of the Dangerous Alliance. Lost the TV title to Barry Windham, won it back by defeating Barry Windham, lost it to Ricky Steamboat, but then made the progression because he found himself a tag team partner with Flying Brian, and they became World Tag Team Champions. Not just World Tag Team Champions, unified World Tag Team Champions, when they defeated Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Shane Douglas. And the Hollywood Blondes, a total freak accident, a team that was just put together because creative had nothing for them, ended up becoming one of the highlights of 1993, when the company went through a major booking change between Bill Watts and Eric Bischoff. So a team that wasn't supposed to happen win the World Tag Team Championships. Not only that, but fans like them. The critics like this team because they're both solid workers, Brian Pillman and Steve Austin. So naturally they get split up and broken up and they have their feud. And then Stunning Steve moves his way onto the U.S. title. So he's a former TV champion, former tag team champion, works his way up, gets his biggest singles title victory when he wins the U.S. title from Dustin Rhodes. I believe that may have been Starrcade 93, or it may have been one of those late 93 pay-per-views. They all kind of blended together. Fall Brawl, Battle Bowl, Halloween Havoc, and then Starrcade. You had, I think, 4 pay-per-views in 4 months. It could have been Starrcade 93, as Tully goes for the cover here on Austin. And then Austin spends most of 94 defending that U.S. title. Has an absolute classic against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at Bash at the Beach in 1994. And you're thinking, okay, well, Hogan came into the company. He defeated Ric Flair for the world title. Maybe we're going to see Stunning Steve Austin versus Hulk Hogan. And that match never happened. And then Stunning Steve loses the U.S. title to Ricky Steamboat. Steamboat has to forfeit the title back because of an injury that ended up putting Steamboat out of action until, well, actually, pretty much the rest of his career. He made that brief run in the early 2010s in the World Wrestling Entertainment Raw against Chris Jericho. But for the most part, that match ended Steamboat's career. Hacksaw Jim Duggan wins the title in an absolute job match. 30 seconds. Surprises Austin and wins the U.S. title. And then Duggan rather quickly loses it to Vader. And then you don't see Stunning Steve Austin that much. And it was really sad because the trajectory of Stunning Steve's career, you just felt was going to take off. And he would have been a natural to be in that world title picture, but everything seemed to have changed when Hogan came in. And then 1995, he gets back together with Colonel Robert Parker. There's talk that maybe the Hollywood Blondes would reform again, which would have been really a shot in the arm, because at the time, you really only had the Nasty Boys and Harlem Heat as the main tag teams in World Championship Wrestling at that time. You had, I think, Stars and Stripes, and you had Pretty Wonderful, but the top echelon tag teams were Harlem Heat and Public Enemy, and gosh, the Hollywood Blondes would have added a big jolt to that tag team division. And he just kind of hangs on and gets released over the mail. That was a big story back in the day. Gets released by World Championship Wrestling, spends a few months in ECW, and I got to see many of his ECW appearances live. My favorite, of course, being the promo that he cut on the Sandman prior to the Sandman losing the ECW title to Mikey Whipwreck in October of '95. For those who may not have seen it, check out or try to YouTube or find on Peacock the ECW promo of Stunning Steve Austin on top of a ladder. Just absolute gold. And you're talking about a guy who you just knew he wasn't going to stay in that promotion for too long. He was just too talented. And finally made the call to go to the World Wrestling Federation, where his career did not take off. But somehow persevered, worked his way up, and his life changed when he became Stone Cold Steve Austin. Of course, that immortal promo at the King of the Ring when he won the 1996 King of the Ring, when he defeated Jake Roberts in the final and said that Jake Roberts can talk his palms and John 3:16, but Austin 3:16 says, "I just whipped your ass." That phrase changed his life forever. And he would go on to become the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I'm going to say something that might get a lot of hate comments below, but I was not the biggest fan of Stone Cold. I love Stunning Steve. I preferred Stunning Steve. I'm like, this guy's not a badass. This is Stunning Steve. He's from Hollywood, California, with a deep Texas drawl. But Stunning Steve quickly grew on me, and of course that big match against Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, the match that changed his life forever. As he goes for the cover after a stun gun, Tully's in trouble. 1, 2, and 3. No! A kick out by Blanchard. And I spent most of this match talking about the accolades of Stunning Steve, but Tully Blanchard, of course, he semi-retired after 1989. Wrestled several matches since then, spent some time in ECW, as a matter of fact, in '95, when he challenged Shane Douglas for the ECW World title. One of those matches was, oh my gosh, let's just say it wasn't good. It was a ring rust. Oh, Blanchard going for the cover here. 1, 2, and a kick out by Austin. Blanchard had a match against Shane Douglas. It was a 1-hour time limit draw, and it was about 45 minutes too long. And I was part of many crowds at the ECW arena that got angry and hostile. I didn't think either one of those men was going to walk out of that match in one piece. In fact, half the audience turned their back on the match, which was an ultimate disgusting sign of disrespect. I, for one, did not go that far, but it was a hard match to watch nonetheless. But Tully Blanchard's still relevant in the world of professional wrestling. He is the manager or the guide, in the guiding role of the Pinnacle in AEW, and actually competed in a match at AEW last month when he teamed with FTR to take on the Jurassic Express. So Tully Blanchard still very much involved in pro wrestling, and as a fan of Tully Blanchard and there the night that he walked out of the NWA in Philadelphia when they lost the World Tag Team titles to the Midnight Express, I am so glad that Tully Blanchard turned his life around and got things back on track as Austin goes for a cover after belly-to-belly suplex. 1, 2! And a kick out at 2 by Blanchard. So these two men destined to cross paths here in Fantasy Warfare. One-on-one, they already wrestled each other back in March as part of a 6-man tag ladder match in which the Horsemen won. And Arn Anderson for the rest of the year will be a member of the 4 Horsemen going forward. This is 1993 Stunning Steve taking on 1988 Tully Blanchard. And these men have spent almost as much time on the outside as they have on the inside. And Stunning Steve with a pile driver on the concrete floor. Down goes Blanchard. The referee's counting. And Austin wants to win this match in the ring, not get a count out. Takes down Tully with a Fez press and a series of right hands. Steve has to be careful of a count out here. Blanchard throws Stunning Steve back in and slides back in, beats the count. And now Blanchard somehow in control after taking a pile driver off the floor. Belly-to-belly suplex, down goes Austin. I'm not sure how Tully Blanchard's still in this match, but he is. And now he's on the offense, driving a series of elbows to the top of the head of Stunning Steve Austin. I have the artificial intelligence of the PS4 playing this match. I kept the HUD characters on. Tully Blanchard has 3 finishes restored here. But we have yet to see the slingshot suplex. And an overhead suplex, and down goes Austin. Austin in a world of trouble. Tully throws Austin into the ropes. But, oh, Austin catches Tully with an elbow. And now Austin back in control, sets up Tully against the ropes. And there it is again, a second stun gun, and down goes Tully. Stunning Steve hooks the leg. Will this be all? 1, 2, and 3. And your winner, Stunning Steve Austin, here on Tuesday Night Warfare 2 for Tuesday Night Warfare. And here are some highlights from earlier in the contest. A back and forth match. Again, these men spent most of the time on the outside of the ring and almost got counted out several times. And there's that pile driver, spiked down Austin on Blanchard, but Blanchard made a comeback, but he fell victim to the second stun gun. And your winner on Tuesday Night Warfare, Stunning Steve Austin. Thank you so much for joining us here on this very special 2 for Tuesday Night Warfare. I'm Gotmark76, and we will see you next week for Slamboree, as I'm joined by my tag team partner for the night, Zach, Deli316. Until then, we'll see you at the matches. Goodbye, everybody.